I didn't anticipate being a body guy. I was 20 years old, so you don't know what you are, who you are yet.
I think back to me as a 20-year-old, I was a little twig compared to you.
You know, I'm there for a bit, and then Matt Morgan comes up with the nickname Masterpiece.
I've got a mullet, and I look like a mini Scott Steiner.
I've definitely fallen back in love with wrestling. I just don't feel like it's loving me back.
We're talking about surprises with the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, they contacted me yesterday. I'm going to be the special guest entrant. Would that be amazing if I dropped it right here? I think that's what made it work, is because, you know, you could watch it on Monday, and then the next day you could sneak up on your friend and like apply it to him.
I mean, I got probably in-school suspension at least 5 times.
The Edge thing they wanted to keep secret, and yeah, we had no idea.
My goal is TNA in the next year. That's it.
I just think you gotta grow the shit out of that mullet, because it's like it's on its way.
Rewind, recap, relive. Woo! That's what the world is watching.
My first guest has been wrestling for about 10 years now. You might have seen him appear on Chicago Style Wrestling, beloved promotion of the show, GCW, or even AEW, where he's made an appearance. He's known to many as the King of Swag. Please welcome JJ Garrett.
Holler.
Holler. Of course. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And you're on with an awesome guest, an absolute veteran of the wrestling world who's really reinvented himself over the years, too. You may know him best from his time in WWE as the masterpiece, Chris Masters, but more recently, he's killing it in the NWA and beyond. Chris Adonis, how are you?
I am good. How are you? Figured I'd get a little flex in there.
You got to, yeah, with a build-up like that. No, thank you
Ah.
both so much for taking the time and being here for this. I always like to start these at the beginning and kind of learn both your journeys into the world of wrestling. JJ, I'll start with you. I've heard you were influenced by a Goldberg tape. Is that true?
Man, you did your research. It's kind of creeping me out.
Yeah, I know everything.
You're like the Nardwart of pro wrestling.
Ah.
Yeah, I got when I was like 6 years old. My dad popped in one of that Goldberg Who's Next VHS, and man, ever since then it was Ninja Turtles and pro wrestling. So yeah, I've been obsessed ever since then. And once I went through high school, I was never the most book smart guy. I'm like that. And pretty much, this is probably my best option is pro wrestling. So here we go.
No,
Parents weren't happy about it, but
well, we're 10 years in now, so hopefully they've come around. What do you think it is about Goldberg that got you so interested?
man, just the intensity, how jacked he was. That what I mean? I was always attracted to like not attracted, but like I was always like influenced by the muscular guys.
You can say attracted to the muscular guy.
All right on. Okay, that's what's up.
He was attracted to the muscular guys. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay.
But yeah, man, like I was like, man, yeah, I want to be that. I think all of us as kids looked up at to the guys that were jacked up, superhero.
Honestly, dude, I can relate to that because I used to draw bodies like that throughout school growing up. And just because I know it was going to come to me too, to piggyback off what you're saying, the Ultimate Warrior was the guy who kind of caught my interest initially. The body, of course, but the face paint, the colors, the music. As a kid, it was just like you were so intrigued by all that. Like I couldn't get an Ultimate Warrior action figure fast enough.
Yeah.
So probably similar to you with Goldberg. And I will say, like, I think one thing that people don't talk about with Goldberg enough, like you hit the nail on the head with the intensity. But what made Goldberg so special outside of all the obvious stuff was like the explosiveness he brought. He brought like, if you actually watch his wrestling and you were just watching it from not like a work rate standpoint, but like explosiveness, he brought that more than anybody. And that's what made all his stuff look so cool.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think he gets enough credit for that. Like, I think everybody always just says that he was intense, but like you have to be a true athlete to have that kind of explosion when you do anything.
100%. Bear with me, guys. I got to grab my charger. I just got off training somebody, so I'm going to grab my charger.
It's all good. Chris, I have a question of what you just said. Was something like someone like Ultimate Warrior that interested you? Was that what led you or inspired you think to like build up the physique that we saw eventually, or? or no?
No, I wouldn't say so at all because I didn't take up working out till way later, and like my Ultimate Warrior fandom only lasted, he left very quickly, and like right when Shawn Michaels had turned heel, I was like paying more attention to Shawn and even Brett when Brett went singles. So the Warrior, but like not to diss the Warrior or anything, because I like looking back at him now again, like there's genius in these guys that you wouldn't consider like work rate guys, even though a lot of people want to bury them or say they can't work. It's like, yeah, not in it, but they still bring something. Warrior obviously had like a lot of stuff going on, man. Like that's a creative thing that he put together. You know what I mean? Like the only thing they change him from Dingo Warrior, which was great, right? Because I was sounded dumb, but he was already like 90% there. He had the face paint, he already had the Warrior name. Like he created all that stuff. And then again with Goldberg, it's just to me, it was the explosiveness that he brought, man. Like that
Yeah.
should not be overlooked, and he should be given credit for that because nobody brought explosiveness like that to pro wrestling. Like I can't even think of who would be next to that. Honestly, I don't know.
No, his intensity is unmatched for
And
sure.
I'm not a Goldberg fan. Like I'm not a Goldberg
Really?
hater either. I like,
Fair
you know what I
enough.
mean? I get it, but like just like I wasn't a Hogan fan really.
Yeah.
Like I didn't hate Hogan, but I wasn't a fan. I was a Warrior guy. You know what I mean? Either you
Straight
were
up.
if you were young growing up in that golden era, you were either a Warrior guy or a Hogan guy. And I was a Warrior guy, but like pretty much right into my fandom, he lost the belt. Like that was the
Mhm.
Royal Rumble where Macho came in. So, you know, it was a rocky road if you were an Ultimate Warrior fan from like 1991 on.
Yeah.
His promos, man. Oh my God, what a trip!
I was
Ultimate
just say
Warrior.
he was so out there, like, but there's some genius to that too. I was just talking about how people always talk about the work rate part, but like still there was genius to Goldberg's like there was to Warrior, like to come up. I was talking about how Warrior came up with most of that. Like he was already the Dingo Warrior when he got there, which we were laughed about because it was horrible. But the point is he already was facing his painting his face
Mhm.
and calling himself the Warrior. Like he was 90% there already. Like he created that.
Yeah,
Nobody could have created the Ultimate Warrior. Could you imagine somebody pitching the idea of like you're gonna paint your face, you're gonna tie tassels to your arm, you're gonna run around like a maniac? Like I don't know.
No, that
it'd be
it
nice.
had to come naturally, right? Evolve. Yeah.
No.
It'd be nice to have picked his brain to see where he got all that inspiration from in the first place, and maybe
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, we never got like that's crazy because when you listen to all of his interviews, it never covers anything like that. You never get to hear about what was the inspiration for any of that stuff, man. And like, there's probably some good stories actually behind that would kind of probably throw us.
Chris, what was your motivation behind your character when you first started working?
You know, I didn't anticipate being a body guy, so it was kind of like a go with the flow type of thing. Like I just realized I started working out because I knew that I needed to, but not with the anticipation of being like a body guy, a Lex Luger or Warrior archetype wrestler. I just knew I needed to put on some because that's what they were looking at in the wrestling school. And it just goes without saying, you should have known if you've grown up on wrestling, the guys were big, especially back in the day. But
Straight up.
you're saying what was my inspiration to work out? Was that the question?
I guess your overall, yeah. I mean, I guess that would be a more better question with it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
because I took up working out much later when I was like, oh, or you were talking about the gimmick, right? It was more about the
Yeah, more so. Yeah,
oh yeah, yeah, no, okay. So like I show up to OVW and I can tell that like the big focus on me was the body from the get-go, even with WWE and I got signed and then I went to OVW. Uh, and then so I already knew that people were kind of considering me that type of archetype wrestler, right? Like everybody was built there, but I obviously was especially built, and really young too, only 19 or 20 years old at that point. So, and then, I'm there for a bit, and then Matt Morgan comes up with the nickname Masterpiece. And so, you know what I mean? It just starts slowly kind
yeah,
of coming. And then I find out that I reminded Vince of Paul Orndorff. So,
Mm.
you start realizing, okay, body guy, cocky, into himself, Rick Rude, Paul Orndorff, Lex Luger. Everybody always wanted to bring up like again with Lex, I wasn't a fan either. So like I never liked the Lex comparisons because I wasn't trying to be the narcissist. You know what I mean? Like I was,
Yeah.
and I'm not hating on Lex either. I'm just saying Lex wasn't one of my guys, and I didn't like if anybody. If I was inspired by any of those guys, it was more Rick Rude. Like, and Paul
Straight
Orndorff.
up.
Yeah, like I liked Paul Orndorff, but I didn't grow up with him, and like I wasn't particularly fond of like I don't know, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
he just wasn't really my thing. Like I don't know.
Not your vibe.
Yeah, like Rick Rude was a little more my vibe, so I tried to look at him a little more and stuff. But yeah, so
Well,
it just kind of came together like that, you know what I mean? And so
yeah.
you start kind of you don't, I mean, I was 20 years old, so you don't know what you are, who you are yet. Think about that. So you
That's
know
what
what
I
I
was
mean?
gonna say.
Yeah, it starts slowly. You start figuring it out, or at least who you are perceived as. Perception is reality in wrestling. And so I started to figure out, oh, this is the perception of me.
Mm.
Dude, you were 20 years old. Like, I think back to me as a 20-year-old, I was a little twig compared to you. So watching you back when you made your debut, I'm like, oh my God, man. It didn't register when I was a kid, but you're 20 years old, jacked up to the gills.
Yeah, I dedicated completely to bodybuilding. I started wrestling school and I was working out, but I got hurt. And I started with Cena of all people, but
Mm.
like Cena got so much attention because he was super built, and then there was another guy, Basil, and I got injured, but then you realize like, oh man, I'm nowhere built close to these guys yet. You know what I mean? Like I thought I had put on some muscle, but then you get next to those guys and you realize, oh, I got a long way to go, and I'm just wasting my time. I'm already hurt. So, I took a couple years off and I just focused on bodybuilding, and my body really like just took to it, man. Like, you know what I mean? Once I figured out what I was doing and how to
Yeah.
eat, how to train, how to supplement, and like about 2 years later, I was basically kind of the masterpiece already, like just,
Wow.
but like that was kind of, I had really good genetics for that too, man. You know what I mean? Like
Fuck
that
yeah.
was another thing. Yeah, like very good. I remember the first thing that ever was getting built on me was my traps. Cause like, you don't know much when you start working out, but I remember one of the first things I did a bunch of was upright rows. I did a lot of upright rows initially. So
Okay, right on.
yeah.
JJ,
I'm trying.
so you just shared that picture on Instagram a few days ago, and you yourself are on that like journey. It looks like you're bulking up too and getting in some great shape. I'm curious what that has been like for you, that journey of the last 10 years.
Your fitness journey.
Yeah.
It's gotten, I tell you what, man, there's been ebbs and flows for me personally. The closer I've gotten to 30, the harder it is to maintain. But more recently, I've been trying to dial in on the diet and really stay dedicated to the gym. I became a personal trainer about 6 months ago, so I have no reason to not be in the gym. So yeah, I'm just really, really trying to dial it in now and make something more of wrestling. So that's pretty much it, man. I mean, I've always loved fitness. I was an amateur wrestler, so it's been a part of my life. I've always had
Are you growing your mullet out?
Oh hell yeah,
It's
brother!
like,
No,
yeah.
seriously. No, seriously, are you?
Yeah, it's a little nasty looking right now.
You should. You should grow that back out, though, man. Like I don't know. I'm starting like mullets are coming back in, and you might as well
Totally.
be like you might as well get ahead of it in wrestling because it's gonna come around in wrestling again. So like
I just got to clean it up, man. That's about it. But yeah, we're getting it back there. So
no, you got to get that back longer, man. You got to get that back part like down. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be super long, but like it's
yeah,
funny. I would have never thought that Dominic Mysterio, man, like he pulls that mullet off pretty good, man.
he's got that swagger, dude.
Yeah, but he looks better with the mullet than he does short hair. That's just insane. I saw a picture of him with the short. Maybe he just got leaner too, but definitely looks better now than he did like when he was teaming with his dad.
Chris, that's a question for you. Do you like yourself with the short hair look more or this long hair that you have with Chris Adonis now?
Well, I like what I'm doing now because, like, to go back to what we were just talking about, I feel like this is naturally who I would have actually been.
Mm.
Yeah, I got kind of painted with the body guy brush, and like I still obviously maintain my build, but like I never wanted to be kind of like one of those big hulking guys that couldn't bump around and stuff like that. I wanted to be more athletic and move around. Oh, my cats are about to go into WrestleMania mode over here. So it'd be pretty funny. They battle, man. Oh yeah, this is gonna be hilarious. So
Can
if you
we
hear
see
anything
them?
odd, yeah, like maybe I'll try to get the camera on them in a minute.
Trying to
But
get, yeah.
Hell yeah, running spots, brother.
but yeah, so this is more and like so and but also to go to what you were saying, I know that I needed to evolve. You know, you don't want to look the same as you did 20 years ago, right? So, you know, I was trying to reinvent myself and kind of separate myself as much as I could from the look that I had, you know, back in WWE with the short crew cut and, you know, I was bigger, obviously, and all that stuff. So, you know, I like what I'm doing now because I just, again, I think if I hadn't gone that route, I would have this is who I would have been, you know?
Yeah.
Is your goal to get back to the WWE at some point, or what's kind of what are
Man,
you looking forward to?
I'd like to, man. I've tried to work for that. Like I was with NWA for a minute, and that gave me kind of a good, at least, platform to kind of show what I can do. But like, I don't know, it's tough, man, because I don't know. I look around the landscape now, and I don't know where that opportunity is going to come from. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it just doesn't, it might not be in the cards. Like, you know, it doesn't mean I'm going to walk away from wrestling. Hey, you guys, I'm going to have to officiate these two.
Special
But
guest.
I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where you know wrestling be and you know you've been doing this for a bit, so you probably know this to a degree. But you know the career of a wrestler goes through a lot where in terms of it's a love-hate relationship, and you love it sometimes, but sometimes you don't feel like it's loving you back. Hey, you guys, play nice. And and like, you know, I've definitely fallen back in love with wrestling, but I've gotten to the point too now where like I just don't feel like it's loving me back. You know what I mean? And I just don't know if I'm gonna get like I feel like I definitely feel like my ability is better than it's ever been, and if given the opportunity, I could do something. But the question is that opportunity going to come? And if it is, who's it going to come from? You know what I mean? So I don't know.
It's wrestling is such a, I don't know, man, but it's packed full of surprises and things you'd never expect. So the opportunity,
Yes. Yes.
but at the same time, it's like, do I want to keep doing this, or do I want to like build my real life outside of this? Because I'm like neglecting one or the other for me personally.
No, yeah, no, me. I mean, you know, I'm at a crossroads myself personally. You know what I mean? Like you know, I've been on the indie scene for so long that, you know, it's gone to the point where I need something more. You know what I mean? Like, and because this can't just be it. If this was just going to be it, then you know, I have to pivot or I have to at least do, you know, do something else in addition to, if nothing else. But like, you know, like you said, it's one of those things where you just never know what kind of surprises or what's going to happen. But you know, at the same time, I don't want to be like, you know, I don't want to be 5, 6, 7 years from now that guy who was like kind of hoping for like what you guys are talking about, that next shot, but just never got it, and since then has just been dithering on the independent scene. And don't get me wrong, the independent scene has been a lot of fun, but you know, like shoot, you know, you got it, you're gonna want something more, you know, because you can like even with the independent scene you can only work but once or twice a week most times, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just that you like there's just a lack of fulfillment and there's not enough physical reimbursement. I mean money, just straight up, you know what I mean? Like you're definitely not planning your retirement just on the independent wrestling scene, you know?
Fuck no, dude. I hope we're allowed to cuss on here.
Oh, you just got us
Yeah.
demonetized.
Oh yeah. Chris
No.
Chris started this podcast. Now he knows the pain of that. Yeah. Chris, I'm sure you get asked a lot as it comes up every year, but we're talking about surprises with the Royal Rumble, where your buddy Carlito as well
Oh
returned.
yeah, they contacted me yesterday. I'm going to be the special guest entrant in this. Wouldn't that be amazing? Would that be amazing if I dropped it right here?
I would post it
And
immediately as soon as we were done.
and like, but that'd be funny if everybody just blew it off like it was bullshit, and then it ended up being true.
Yeah.
But dude, I always, you know, I didn't think about it for a long time, and then you know, about 3 or 4 years ago, like I started seeing obviously a lot of my friends come back, and it was just kind of like, man, you know, I started to really kind of yearn for it and kind of try to put feelers out there, but hasn't come to be. And I don't know, like, see, in my mind, I think about it like, yeah, I might get a pop, or, like it, it might be a kind of a cool return. But I think in the powers to be mind, like Hunter, for instance, in his mind, he would think that they've forgotten about the masterpiece. It's been too long. They've forgotten about the masterpiece. Nobody will care. Which, I don't know. Like me, depending on the crowd, maybe that could be the case. Maybe not a lot of people would care. But then again, maybe it would be, a shock pop. Like, oh my God, you play the old song. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that. Maybe it'd have to be in my hometown, Los Angeles.
I don't know. In my head, I mean, I was probably 9 or 10 at that point. And for me and my brother, man, we were huddled around the TV waiting for your debut because you had the vignettes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I might see, that's the thing that makes me think I could get a pop, because I think you do have a good amount of guys like in their 20s or late 20s, early 30s who were watching this since they were kids, and their, peak fandom was around. Like, I always say this too, because well, you got more experience. I've wrestled a lot of guys on the indie scene now who are in their early 20s, and they're very nervous about wrestling me. And then when we talk, you realize, like, oh, their first time seeing me, they were like 6 years old or whatever. You know what I mean? They were really young. So, anyways, just to say, hopefully there would be enough fans of that same kind of nature that would be like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
Because all the
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna say, speaking as a fan, I could say that it would be a great return. But yeah, like you're saying, who knows? Who knows? Speaking of that theme that you just brought up, though, we heard about how the masterpiece itself was created, the gimmick, but what was that entrance like? Because that made you so memorable, so creative back then.
It was really cool, but like, so we didn't even work on that till the first day where I debuted. Like, I wasn't doing that. I didn't, because I didn't even have my song yet. And then what happened is this is kind of funny, because HBK and Hunter were the ones out there kind of helping me put it together. So those guys were already kind of in the role that they're doing. Now you already had the, like, my point is that you already had like NXT and, head dude Hunter working on stuff
Yeah.
even at that point to help out even a guy like me, and they helped me come up with that whole posing routine. And I just had to listen to that song constantly to try to hit the track right, to hit the posing. And I was sick as a dog too. I had food poisoning, so that made it like a nightmare on the debut. But like, it was awesome, because as you can see, as time went on, I played with it a little bit, and I kind of realized where I could be a little more free with it, and I got comfortable with it, and I was able to kind of, some of my entrances were really good. After I got some time and just got all the dongs on right, and
Yeah.
kind of had an idea what the hell I was doing.
That's
So
the only
badass, dude.
It was, yeah, it definitely was badass. That's the only piece I feel like we wouldn't get in the Rumble, though, because it wouldn't make sense for you to be standing up there posing if you
No,
were.
yeah, dude, that's the funny that you bring that up, because that's the only downside I always think about is if you're a royal entrant, it kind of takes away a lot of my what would make my return cool. And just, even if I didn't go through the full routine, because again, I'm not as big as I used to be, but even if you did a little improvised version or something just to
Right.
remind people, like, there's a version I do on the indies where I still pose,
Mm.
but it's less of a, like, musculature guy just hitting like four poses. It's just, it's a little more kind of like just a little more flowy and a little
Yeah.
more less emphasized on that. But anyways.
Yeah.
Are you like a pre-workout guy before matches, or do you have like any certain kind of like meals you like to eat before you work out, or even wrestle?
I just know lately I definitely, anytime it's a wrestling day, I like to have breakfast. I like to have, midday or mid-morning meal, and then lunch. And then I don't want to, typically, I ideally wouldn't want to have another meal. Like, I'd show up to the show, but I'll have something with me. I'll have a bar and an energy drink. If I'm buying something at the store, preferably a Bang. I like Bang Energy, but if not that, like, whatever pre-workout I'm using, like, I kind of right now alternate between Bang pre-workout for workouts and wrestling if I need to buy it, and then uh Lit is a pre-workout
Yep.
supplement. So I just bought one of those today. So, I don't know. I'm not like, I love energy drinks. like I'm a big Red Bull fan too, but I don't drink Red Bull as a pre-workout or a pre-match thing. It's like I'll substitute Red Bull with coffee. You know what I mean? Like so, some mornings I'll have coffee, but most mornings I'll just skip the coffee and have a Red Bull.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, I'm very much it's weird. I go through cycles of like I'll do energy drinks, but I've noticed before matches I'll get blown up if I drink a Bang or a Ghost or anything. So I
Really?
try yeah, but if I do black coffee, lights out, brother, we're getting it. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
really?
Yeah, I'm a black coffee. Like I'll go through spurts of black coffee, iced coffee, and energy drinks throughout the
I
month.
feel you on that, man. That makes complete sense. I don't. I haven't felt like Bang has blown me up, but like I do. I hear you on that because there are some of these things that, especially with thermogenics, like the fat burners and stuff, those even more so because those elevate your heart rate. And
Yeah,
that's when you'll really like if you're taking something like that, you'll feel way more blown up than you really actually are because it's increasing your heart rate. And like, I've been in some funny situations like that early in my career before I learned that, where, I was just dead from, taking a fat burner before
yeah,
right before wrestling. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, man. And I was like, I'm sitting there in the ring, gassed. There, 5 minutes, and I'm like, dude, that stair stepper is bullshit. You know what I mean?
Uh,
Like, dude, this ain't working or something.
no,
It's
man, those pre-workouts, what I do differently though too now, funny, this doesn't have anything to do with like the effect for the match, but like when I arrive to a show, rather than trying to time it perfectly with the match, I start drinking it at the beginning of the show because I found that like if I try to time it perfectly to kick for my match, then I'm gonna be up all night guaranteed because you have the adrenaline rush of the match and you got that pre-workout that you took very close to your match, which will be late, a little bit, 8:30, 9 p.m. So I try to start just consuming it like right when the show starts, essentially, not, but you start sipping it if not drinking it. And, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I don't think I've gotten too blown up, man. Like usually they just really give me that pickup I need to kind of go to that next level, because sometimes you're really tired at those shows. And that's more the nightmare is not having something to, kind of help you get up. Although I imagine, man, if you walked down in front of a good crowd, you wouldn't need nothing, you know?
straight up,
Yeah.
straight up. No, I mean, I personally, I got to get some jumping jacks and push ups and to get a little bit of blood flowing
Oh
or something.
yeah, no, you have to. No,
Like,
you got to warm up. Yeah, I always do use or try to do some stretching and some push-ups and
yeah,
yeah, you got to get the joints going and some oh yeah, push-ups and Hindu squats. Yeah,
yep.
I do about 25 a piece of those and just, and some other little stuff.
Oh yeah, man. There you go.
Well,
But
JJ, so
yeah, dude.
oh yeah, go
No,
on.
no, no. Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
I
Go
was
for
gonna
it.
bring up your king of swag, but you weren't always that, and I wanted to move into some of that character building that you've been doing and evolving over your career so far.
Yeah, I tell you what, man. I did that King of Swag back in, well, I say 2014 to 16, and then and I was doing that while I was working for a guy named Ian Rotten at IWA Mid South, and I was very character based. You know what I mean? Worked very Southern style, and working for him doing that King of Swag thing, it was great. I was really learning, getting the reps in, and the inspiration behind that character was a mix of like Jim Carrey, like 18-year-old me, who was a complete dipshit, and then Adam DeMamp from Workaholics, if you know who that is.
Okay.
I don't.
Anyways, but yeah, so that's pretty much that. But I don't really do the King of Swag anymore. I've really just kind of gone into this spot fest guy. Yeah, I hate to say it, but this indie spot fest kind of guy. I've got a mullet and I look like a mini Scott Steiner.
You do.
Uh,
You definitely do.
and whatever that is, man, I don't know. I call myself the MILF Hunter or Thought Steiner and just wrestle, man. So I've got
I don't see it like the only thing that like I think like guys like me where we get critical on the indie style is the blatant no selling of certain shit. You know what I mean? Like I've seen guys exchange power bombs and like stuff like that where a guy will have taken a power bomb, but he kind of rolls to his feet and then gives it right back to the other guy. And like honestly, if you even if you want to do something like that, and I even told the guys when I watched this, I'm like, Dude, that's already a stretch, but like if the guy who just took it now gives it back to the other guy, just don't stand up and pose right after. Like give it to him and go down and back to a cell so that now we don't negate this power bomb that you took before the one you gave and just completely throw it away. And so it's stuff like that that I think little things like that could improve the indie style if guys just kind of like that's the stuff you just kind of rein in. Like, don't make anything just look like it was not for purpose. Like figure out a way to give it some purpose there. Like, and again, because I remember the guy who did this scenario I was just talking about. He took it and then he gave it back to the other guy, and I was watching closely. I was like, "What's he gonna do?" He didn't go down to his cell. He started, working the crowd, and like just, and I was just like, you know,
Or,
can we
or
just
when Canadian destroyers are overdone or like
Yeah.
kicked out of, I think, man, that's crazy. Or Spanish flies or any of that kind of stuff, man. Same story.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, again, like you can do those things, but like for me, if it is just like let's try to not have any no cells in there, man. Like try to get rid of that part of it. Like still do all that shit. But
Yeah.
again, like the scenario I mean in the spot, the scenario was much longer than I gave you, but that was the finishing point. And again, all you needed to do is if you're gonna do that, just go down with it. Like just
Yeah.
go down in the power bomb and sell down and you're both out. And then the people can give you your props too. You know what I mean? Like you both get props. It's not just you standing there like, look at me. Nobody can hurt me. Like your power bomb sucked, but mine, on the other hand.
It's almost like guys nowadays are misusing the old Japanese strong
Oh,
style.
very. Oh, they totally are, man. They totally are. Like, and even some of the trade-offs I see are just kind of some of them have been awful. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just not
Yeah.
like they're striking each other and they're really striking each other, but like the strikes don't even look good. Like they don't even look like, dare I say, even masculine. Like
Oh yeah. Yeah,
uh,
there's not enough oomph. There's not enough
yeah,
testosterone behind them. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I
Anyway,
get you.
so yeah, but I think you're right. I just think it's misusing kind of the Japanese stuff a little bit. You know what I mean? But I mean, honestly, I think if a lot of the indie guys just made that little adjustment, that would be, we'd be in a good place. You know what I mean? Because everything would still,
Like the big divide. I was talking to some buddies about it the other day. Is like when AEW started up, that massive crop of talent that was really good on the indies, they all got taken away, and so the indies have been left, with these greener guys to their own devices, and so then it kind of bad habits started piling up over the years,
well,
and it's
you're right. I mean, because I've had to work a ton of green guys, so I just know, like I was telling you. I mean, I've been to Canada at least 30 times since the pandemic, and on a few of those were like short tours, and I was working. We hear you. Uh, I was working against, guys who were 1 year or not 1 year, but 2, 3 years in, 4 years in, all very green, and you know, just need a lot of work.
yeah, yeah, 100%.
Chris, I'm
But it,
curious, did you enjoy the Masterlock challenge as much as all of us fans did?
I did some of them, you know what I mean? I just didn't like as a fan myself, I was just kind of worried like are people going to get behind this? It's a full Nelson, it's so basic. But I think that's what made it work is because you could watch it on Monday and then the next day you could sneak up on your friend and like apply it to him and then be like, get out of it, let's see you get out. See you get out. I would be doing that.
Yeah, no,
no,
that's a
man.
great point. It's very interactive. JJ, were you doing that?
Oh, dude, left and right. I mean, I got probably in school suspension at least 5 times from that one.
Yeah,
But
I
I
mean,
mean, no,
I
man.
guarantee you I would have locked up, I would have seen it. Like maybe not right away, but like after seeing it enough times, I would have snuck up on my buddy and be like, Masterlock, gotcha. You know what I mean? And then like challenged him to break out of it.
Like, dude, you mean like I'm not trying to stroke your ego or nothing, but man, you made it look like $1 million because you
Oh,
look the part, and then it's like, yeah, the debut of it was nasty.
Yeah, and some of them were vicious, man. I was swinging people around with that thing. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like
yeah.
that one with Melissa Coates, who was a woman, but she was built. Like it's disturbing to watch, man. Like it was like
yeah.
I was so, you just don't know when you're that young and green, like you just kind of really, and I was so big, you just you don't even know really what stiff is. You're still learning what like stiff is because, which I think I was, because I was stiff with that with a lot of people. I had to learn, the art of what we do and the Shakespeare of it and you know, to not do things, to work everything, but sometimes you don't realize even with the holds, like, once you're finished, like I was putting too much behind it, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
too strong, like, really cutting off people's blood flow to the head and, almost making some people pass out.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a move that if you shoot with that move, that lights out, man. They're done for
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
I know Bobby Lashley broke it. Was there ever anybody else that you think should have broke it, or ever any ideas of anyone breaking it?
No, because I mean, the only other person you would think of was Batista, but like, you have to think about it in terms of this, like, who needed it at that point. And it was very obvious for what they were doing with Bobby that Bobby needed it for, they were pushing him in the big. I mean, I'd rather nobody had broke it looking back because that would have been more beneficial for me. But Bobby just made the most sense. If you were going to ask me if like who should break it on the roster at that time, he
Yeah,
was like the only guy that made sense because he was built the way he was, and again for the push of it and all that.
yeah.
Straight
No,
up.
definitely, and it did help him. That was a great storyline with you two. JJ, to move to you, you had your career. You appeared on AEW Dark, made a great appearance there, and I'm curious what that was like for you being in such an established locker room like that for the first time.
Well, it was an honor for one. It was, you know what I mean, like um, nerve wracking to say the least, because regardless of who I've been around, I've never been on that level
Yeah,
prior to that moment, and it was good. I mean, yeah, I was walking on eggshells a little bit, but at the same time, the atmosphere was good. Everybody was nice. Um, yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I wish I could have got to do a little bit more with them, no doubt. But yeah, it was crazy. It came, what was it? Christopher Daniels hit me up on Facebook of all places, and I was sleeping on an air mattress. Man, I had just moved into a new apartment, broke as hell, and he hit me up and he's like, "This is a Friday," and he wanted me to come the following Tuesday, and I had no new gear. Uh, so I had like blood stains from GCW on it, not my
yeah.
blood, but just blood from the canvas. And so I'm like, all right, well, let's do it, man. And ended up going down there and having, in my opinion, some pretty good matches with it was QT Marshall and Max Caster.
Mhm.
Had a lot of fun, but yeah, man, good little tryout matches. They just did not like my gear.
Ah,
Really, because of the
Yeah,
what
blood?
did they say about your gear?
there was blood stains from GCW's canvas on.
That's what they pointed out.
Seriously, I'm not even joking. Like
Wow.
Wow.
uh, QT QT was like, yeah, man, everything is good except for your gear. Your gear just you need new gear. I'm like, dude, this is literally a photo of my new gear. It's coming in the mail,
Ah,
and that was that, man. So I don't know if maybe
good kid, but that gear.
it, my buddy Joey Janela was working for him at the time, and he came up to me at a GCW. He's like, "Yeah, fuck JJ, man. Motherfucking QT Marshall, making it so you can't get hired because your gear, man. Fuck that." I hope I'm
Uh,
not putting anybody on blast by saying that, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, brother.
No, it's a great story, and no, I mean it's that's crazy with the gear, but like at least it wasn't your blood. I feel like that's the moral of that story. That
I
it
don't
was
gig.
yeah.
not yours. Um, Chris, early on in your career, you were in the like a stacked elimination chamber alongside Carlito, but it was so early, and you were in there with guys you looked up to like Shawn Michaels. I'm curious if that was a pressure like situation for you, or what your mindset was heading into that.
It was my 21st birthday that
Oh
same day.
wow.
So yeah, so that was interesting. Yeah, it was stressful because again, being that green and being in a situation like that, you don't really know what to expect. And I did make the mistake of going into that day. I took a red eye, which was, where I flew in to New York from LA on Saturday night. So and the reason why that was a mistake is because anybody who's taking a red eye knows that, like, if you're not able to, it kind of throws you off for the day,
Mhm.
especially if you're not able to get like a good sleep in once you land wherever you are for a bit. So, I was kind of just jet lagged all day, and yeah, definitely a little stressed, but there was definitely a lot of excitement, I'm sure too, seeing as that, it's your birthday. You're always a little
Mhm.
more up for your birthday typically. And then, yeah, I'm going into this main event match with all these freaking greats. And yeah, it was very cool. It was just, you just
Yeah.
never knew. It felt, those type of matches were always very weird for me at that point because they felt so differently from a regular one-on-one match or even tag match that you have, and it's a little harder sometimes. At that point, at least, it was harder for me to tell, like, if this was going well or not, or even when you come back from some of them, like, oh my God, it's just more of a kind of like, what just happened out there type of thing.
Yeah.
But that's also because there's a lot of moving pieces out there, and it's not all, you're not fully responsible for everything, so you don't necessarily even know.
Yeah. I actually had Carlito on the podcast a few years ago, and he said of that moment that nobody knew Edge was going to cash in. Is that true? You got,
No,
wow.
yeah, no, they do that. They just, it's a need to know basis for a lot of stuff because you don't want things to get stewed. So this happens all the time, like, you just have to think about anything that would be a need to know thing. They're going to leave it to need to know rather than broadcasting it. And so the Edge thing they wanted to keep secret. And yeah, we had no idea. I just remember the only thing Carly had pointed out throughout the day about how weird the finish was. It didn't make sense to him. He's like, that's going to be, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it was funny because, Carly had it pegged all day. And then, once Edge came out, I guess it made a lot more sense to him. And, you know,
Yeah. I
so,
didn't know ahead of time
Makes
though.
me wonder the purpose why they keep that from you guys. Is it to hide from the dirt sheets or something?
oh
Or like,
yeah, it is. Just the less people to know, the better. When you really want to keep a secret, it's just about, like, was there really a reason that we needed to know? And it's not even to, like, purposely not tell us. I think it's just more that, like, yeah, we're in the match, but nothing we're gonna do is gonna necessarily have to affect that. So, there's just, they I'm sure they had enough experiences with people leaking stuff and not knowing who it is, to where that they, would handle stuff like that. Because, like, even with the Rumble, it starts out with everybody, but then once you get down to, like, when you're going over the match, once you get down to whatever, I don't know if it's the final 8, 10, 8, or maybe less even, but everybody leaves, and then it's just those guys. So nobody going into the Rumble even knows who's going over. And I'm sure they even probably, I'm not sure, but they might even make the group smaller from there. Like, maybe it starts with 10 people, and then you go through it, and then those 6 guys now leave, and now you just have the final 4. Like, so I don't know that for sure. So I've never been in that late in the Rumble, but I wouldn't be surprised if only the last 4 guys maybe even know the winner.
Yeah.
makes sense.
In
Makes
that
sense.
ch in that chamber too, Kurt Angle went crazy. He was kicking some ass, and I think you got to watch him from the pod. Was that a
Oh
unique
yeah,
experience?
I always talk about this because I'm in the pod watching, and it's not that I didn't know already that Kurt was great and
Yeah.
one of the best ever, all of that. But I'm watching him from the pod and watching him come in there, and he's suplexing everybody, and I just always remember it dawning on me. I'm watching him from the pod, and it dawns on me, like, man, like, Kurt Angle's not just great. Like, Kurt Angle is one of the best in-ring guys of all time. Like, in the top 5. That's probably what and it was just watching his explosiveness. Like,
Yeah.
again, to go back to the Goldberg thing. I mean, he had a different form of it, but Angle came in there, and the intensity that he brought and the explosiveness, and, like, I don't know, you were just like, wow, man, this guy is something else.
Yeah, something just makes you go, "Fuck yeah, dude!" Like, let's get this.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, watch it anytime. I mean, I had a pretty good entrance into that thing too, actually. Like, I kicked some ass too, but, like, Kurt Angle was, I mean, he just suplexes everybody, like, probably 2 or 3 times everybody.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When he picked up his intensity in, like, what, I don't know, 04, 05, he just started
Yeah.
being a machine, man. Like, and then his run in TNA was pretty badass too, in my opinion.
Legendary. Yeah.
It was,
I mean, dude, he was I remember being there for all of his matches with Cena, man, and those were split crowds every night, and it was, you
Yeah.
know, a big part of that I think was just how good Kurt was in comparison to like Cena. You know what I mean? Like, yes, Cena was a baby face and over and stuff, but when you watch the two, there was a clear difference as far as like the in ring presentation, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. JJ, so I read that you said you got into this to be the best wrestler in the world, and you're on your way, you're evolving. You've got your brand new persona now as you continue to grow it. What are some matches that people should check out of JJ Garrett to showcase that drive and passion?
Well, I'll tell you what. I've been working for Sammy Callahan a lot recently on the Revolver shows,
Okay.
and I've been in pretty much all scrambles. He's going to start getting me singles and whatnot this coming year, but right now, some matches I would recommend were probably from 2 3 years ago, and matches with like Jordan Oliver. I think that was at Jersey Championship Wrestling at the Atlantic Showboat. This match, it's on YouTube. It's with Matt Makowski. That's a really good match to check out. Those are the two top ones that come to my mind right now that are accessible on YouTube for free
Yeah.
that I really enjoy.
No, I love those pro wrestling revolver shows too. Those have been
They're
sick.
hot,
Yeah.
dude. They're hot, and like I'm from the Des Moines area, so it's a blessing to have it in that area too. Because I only have to drive like 2.5 hours.
Wonderful.
Yeah, dude. No more 14-hour drives to Jersey, man. Well, for now, anyways. But
Oh my God.
14 hours
Terrible.
out of Jersey. Wow.
the travel, Chris, what do you think? Do you like traveling, or are you?
I mean, just like anybody else, I mean, travel is a pain in the ass, but at the same time, I've come to enjoy it a lot more because I like to wake up in a different place. So like I try to put up with all the inconveniences of, yeah, you have to fly and it can be uncomfortable and sometimes it goes completely belly up, like everything will goes wrong and you're just, it can be awful. But again, I'm just looking at it more from like, I love to wake up in a different place. I like I don't like staying put in one city for 7 days straight. I like the idea of travel. I wish that we had a more efficient way to travel. Like I hope at some point we apply that alien technology that we've been, back engineering and use it to make our flights like much quicker. Because I mean, how awesome would traveling be if our flights were at least double the speed? Like if I could get to New York in 2 hours, like that'd be awesome, right?
Oh my
Like,
God. Yeah.
I tell my mom, like, Mom, if only we could have like teleportation as a thing. I know the government has it, but if we could just have it.
that's what I always say, man. Like, yeah, like imagine. It's almost frustrating to think of the pain in the butt we're going through now because in 50 years they might have all these things where you could like you're talking about teleportation. Like, yeah, imagine I could teleport right into another place. That'd
Dude,
just be so annoying to me. Like, oh, I took 5-hour flights every week and now you're teleporting. Although, we have so many great conveniences though, too, that we've gone in our lifetime. So I guess, because think about somebody who came up, 100 or even 50 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
that they didn't have GPS or, these phones and like just all this
All
little
of
things that we
this.
have.
Yeah.
I remember right when I started, GPS started becoming a thing on smartphones. But to get to my first booking, I had to like print out the directions.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah. Dude, right when I started on the road was right when GPS or with WWE GPSs came out like shortly thereafter, and thank God they did because I was getting lost. I was making wrong turns. I was one of the first people on GPS because I still remember trying to sell Val Venus and Kane on GPS, because they were still using their Thomas guide and stuff, and I was like I figured out what the argument. I told him, I'm like, well, you know what? Your Thomas Guide is great or your MapQuest is great, but neither of those is going to tell you if there's a Gold's Gym in town. But this GPS will tell you there's a Gold's Gym 2 miles from here, or that's just an example. But whatever, a restaurant, anything.
I mean, we literally have our lives are revolved around these cell phones. We kind of need them, even if we don't want them.
Oh,
Mhm.
dude, I broke mine on Sunday, at the gym. I shattered it by accident. Luckily I had a warranty. It's because it's a new iPhone too.
Yeah.
And like I didn't have the phone for like 6 hours. And like I literally remember at one point walking through the mall and being slightly frightened by the by by not having anything to figure out where I'm going. And I'm in my
Yeah.
hometown, granted. And I'm
Oh my
still kind of
lord.
like, oh my God. Like, and then, you stop at a red light and your usual thing is to check a little look at your phone. And every time I'd stop at a red light, not having it for that, just to like, just check. It was just, man,
Yeah.
it was tough.
Dude, it's funny. Last week I shattered my iPhone. Like, good. So we're on an iPhone 6 right now. It's just what was in my junk drawer. But I was on the elliptical and I was getting warmed up. Go to grab my phone to change the song, and I drop it, and mid stride it gets smashed under the pedal, like folds like a chair.
Wow.
So
Whoa. But it was an
so
iPhone 6, you said?
yeah.
Oh, thank you. Bro, like
No,
here's so
No,
with
this is an
mine,
iPhone 6, right?
this is an iPhone 6. This is the backup.
that's the camera's not bad on that though. But look, here's the like so mine smashed under a gym bench that collapsed. But like so I just got this iPhone. It's the iPhone 16 Pro. So we're talking about like a $1,200 phone. So I was so defeated for a good hour there because I couldn't remember if I had a warranty and my phone wasn't working. I was just like, I don't know. It was just so defeating to have your new iPhone 16 Pro smashed within a month of having it. But like I said, thank God I had insurance and they did was fix the screen. So I was like, thank God.
Was that mid workout, or were you almost finished? Hopefully.
Oh, that's a great question. I was two sets in because like it's funny you say that because I never bail on a workout, but I was two sets in, and once I had realized, I hear you. Once I had realized, because the music was still playing, it took me a minute to realize. Like I did two sets of pullovers, like I was going to do chest, and so I did my warm up, I did my rear delts, I started two sets of pullovers, and went over to a Smith machine, and I was setting it up, and I looked over, and that's when I saw that it was shattered, and I was like. And I started, but the music was still going, so I started to maybe like keep going. I was like, well, maybe I'll finish this, but I knew at that point, I'm like, man, this is going to be a distraction. I'm going to be thinking about this the whole time. I'm like, you know what? You're two sets. You just need to leave and go tend to this right away. And it was funny because then I show up at the T-Mobile store, and it was so early, it wasn't even open yet.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I want to hear something even funnier. So I didn't know what time it was. I had no clock because the phone was broken. So then I drive home to realize that the T-Mobile literally was 5 minutes from opening when I got there. And I just
Oh
didn't.
my
Oh my
god,
God.
Yeah,
dude.
so like things weren't going so great, but like I kept my composure though, and luckily I did because then I got to T-Mobile and I was so relieved to find out that I should know this, but sometimes I'm just so scattered. But I found out he told me that I had insurance, but even the phone was only a month and a half old, so you still have Apple Care in that time range. So like I was doubly insured essentially at that point. Thank goodness.
Good, good.
Well, before we start to wind it down, Chris, I got one more for you, and it's a bit of a random one, but I heard in an interview that CM Punk did that after he cut his infamous pipe bomb promo, that you were one
Yeah.
of the first people he ran into. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah, it is, and it's the story of it's funny because I was like, just like everybody else, tripping out on what was said. But like, here's the part because CM Punk he talks about how like I said something and I didn't realize it was him, which I didn't. The reason I didn't realize it was him is because it's so dark in some of those backstage areas. Like all I saw was a figure, and I think I was with somebody too. But essentially, like it was funny because whatever I said to Punk completely validated his promo to him because essentially he had worked me with the promo because I was like, oh my god, what did he say? You're gonna get yourself fired. And I think as soon as he heard that, he knew that the promo went over just like like it was the validation. He knew, like he already knew, but sometimes you just need that little extra thing, and I think I was that extra thing to like because he got me.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
That
cool.
is really cool.
But
Wow.
well, you know what? But when I hear like, because I saw that come out a while ago, the part that's embarrassing to me is people don't realize, because it's like I'm saying it to him, but I don't realize it's him, and you don't understand why. It just sounds like, he's, I sound like an idiot. It's the fact that it's dark and I couldn't make out. I couldn't see that it was Punk. You know what I mean? I didn't know it was him.
Yeah. No, that didn't make sense to me, that part either. Unless it sounded
Yeah,
like you
like
were
it just,
kidding, maybe. Like it sounded like you
I,
were joking or something, but that makes sense. That's the missing piece.
I couldn't see him. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys both, JJ. One last question for you. Do you have any future goals, long term or short term, that we should keep our eyes out for? It's been great hearing your career so far, but what should we look out
My,
for?
my goal is TNA in the next year. That's it.
Nice.
That baby step. I mean, that's not
Yeah,
the end goal, but it's like that's the next step is TNA.
an attainable goal. No, that's huge.
So, and then wherever that may take me, so be it. But I just want to put on banger matches and work towards leaving a legacy. Just have fun with it. So
There you go.
That
I'll
is-
meet you at TNA.
let's get it, brother.
And Chris, final question for you. You've given some awesome words of wisdom really throughout this entire interview. Any final parting words for JJ as he continues his career?
No, I think he's got it. It sounds like he's got his head on straight. I mean, obviously, I just always tell guys just stay the hell away from drugs. But luckily, well, like the wrestling business is pretty clean now, so that's not even as much of a thing. But I just think you got to grow the shit out of that mullet because it's like it's on its way. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
but like I'm half kidding on that because I think it could actually be a look for you too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be growing it back out. A lady at the gym was trying to talk me out of it, and she ain't hot enough anyways. So we're
yeah. Don't even listen to her. But like, yeah, I think you got your head on straight. Just keep on with it. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that, man. It was a pleasure talking to you and meeting you. So hopefully we can meet in person at some point.
I'm sure we will. It'll be funny when it'll be on some show that like I probably don't even anticipate seeing you, but then there you are.
Yep, straight up, man.
Mullet and all.
It'll be touching my ass cheeks next time I see you, man. I tell you that.
Oh, but wait, speaking of heritage, just before we go, Jonah, right?
Yeah, Jonah.
Jonah, I just have to ask you, like, how long does it take to get your hair all perfectly flowing like that?
You're on a list now, an elite list. Who is it? It's Vince Russo who asked if he could have my hair, and someone else. Not long. I came right from work, and so I got it. It's just some water in the morning. Believe it or not, that's it.
It just flows like that.
It just flows. Yeah.
That's interesting, man. That's good that you. It's like I never had good bedhead. You know what I mean? But like, I guess you pull it off.
Well, no, I mean it's after a shower. I take a shower and then I just put my hand through it.
Oh, like you shower and then you let it do its thing, and that's just kind of how
I
it
just
falls.
don't touch it. Yeah, I don't really use like a brush that much, and I really try not to use any like product. I just put my hand through it. But I'm lucky. That's definitely
What a blessing! What a blessing to have it be that easy. That's pretty cool.
You
Good
got
for
that. You got that pretty boy band hair, man.
Oh, you know it. Yeah.
Straight up.
But
we spent way too long on hair in this conversation. We
I know
talked about everybody's hair in this.
I know. I'm leaving it all in too. This is the iPhones, the hair, all that stuff is gonna.
Oh no, that was good. That was good kind of conversation right there, man.
Rewind, recap, relive. Woo! That's what the world is watching.